Hey, this is Lee Swanner with Swanner Landscaping and Irrigation. Today what I wanted to talk to you about is, besides changing heads out for people with a busted head and water splashing up all over the street or all over the sidewalk or over the house, the number one call that I get from people is, hey, my irrigation's turned on and I can't get it to shut off. I went out to the controller and I turned it off, but yet water's still spraying out of in zone 1 or zone 2 or zone 3. And I hear that all the time. I've been repairing those kind of problems for years. And the number one cause for a problem like that is some kind of debris has gotten stuck in the control valve. So that when you turn the controller off, that valve closes, but there's something that's obstructing that valve from closing completely. And invariably, the problem is going to have been either a pipe was busted recently and it was repaired, and when they made that repair, some debris it's going to happen in the main line. It's not going to happen in a lateral, but in the main line, a repair is made on the main line, and that debris, they cut the pipe and maybe a little piece of PVC pipe, a scab of PVC pipe, or a rock. Even a leaf will do it. If it gets in the main line, it's when you repair the pipe, that debris, when you turn the water back on, that debris is going to run to that valve and it's going to stop there because the valve's closed. Okay, when you turn that zone on, that valve's going to open back up, and then this rock or this little twig or a leaf or a piece of PVC pipe, or even a blob of glue. I've had glue do it before. It runs to the valve, but it can't make that turn to go through the lateral and clog up a head down the way. It's going to sit right there in that doorway. Now that's what a valve is. Effectively, it's a doorway between the main line and the laterals. You turn the controller on, and that little doorway opens up, and then that piece of debris gets down into the through from the main. It goes to the valve, but it can't get through there. It's stuck in there. So now when you turn the controller off, or when it goes to the next zone, that valve tries to close and it can't close all the way. So now water's still coming up out of the heads. And it goes on to the next zone, the next zone, the next zone, and then the whole program shuts off, but yet that valve's still got debris in it and it won't charge. Now there's a couple ways to fix it. One way to fix this is to turn the backflow on and off, and try to get that valve to open and shut, and then hopefully that debris will run through there. If you do that a few times and you can't clear it, what you got to do is you've got to turn the water off. That's the very first thing, because I promise you this, like in all things, there's lots of things you're going to regret. And if you go to take that solenoid off, or start taking them screws off, water's going to blast off everywhere. So very first thing you do is remember, if you're on a city water supply, that you're going to have a ball valve between the city and your backflow preventer. You've got to have a backflow preventer. If you're tied into the city anywhere in the country, you're required to have a backflow preventer. And so most backflow preventers are going to be a pressure vacuum breaker, PVB, 1-inch PVB, 1.5-inch PVB, and it's got two valves on it. They're manual ball valves. You just turn one of them off and it shuts the water off to the system. Now you can go, and I'm going to demonstrate this to you. I'm just walking through it, verbally, to kind of show you the process and why it happens. But what you're going to do is you're going to go to your valve. You should dig out around that valve. Okay, dig out around the valve box. You can open up the valve box and then put a screwdriver or a ratchet, 8mm ratchet if it's a Hunter valve, or it's got the thing is those screws are on there so tight. They've got a little hex head on, but it's also got a Phillips in it. So the Phillips, when you turn that Phillips, it's easy to strip them screws out. So you don't want to do that. What I like to do is use a little extension on a mini ratchet. I think it's an 8mm socket. You're going to take that valve, the top of that valve off. I'm going to demonstrate this again. I'm going to demonstrate this for you. You're going to it's got a solenoid attached to it, on top of the valve. You're going to go around that valve and take those screws off and lift that cover off. The reason it's best to dig out around it and take the valve box off is because you're trying to keep debris out of the valve, not add anything to it. And if you're like anybody in the field, you're going, it's easy to, reach down there and knock a bunch of sand down there, or, get a blob of glue in there or something that especially if you don't see it, now it's going to clog your heads up downstream. So you don't want to do that. You want to dig out, take the valve box off, dig out around the valves, get all the wires exposed if you have to. But you want a nice clean workspace. I always want a clean workspace. No matter what you're doing, take your time and take the extra minute to make it nice and clean. And so you're going to take those either with a ratchet or screwdriver. I recommend with a ratchet. Take the ratchet off, take the top of that valve off. It's got a spring in it. Make sure you don't lose that spring. Again, I'm going to demonstrate this. But, and then, so in there's a diaphragm and a rubber plunger. And that rubber plunger is like a stopper, right? So this valve is normally closed. And then when the controller activates the solenoid, it opens that valve up. It lifts it up. So however that functions, it's a different story altogether. It's one of the mysteries of irrigation, right? So you're going to take that diaphragm out of there, and you're going to look down there, and I guarantee you there's going to be a leaf, a twig, a rock, a piece of PVC pipe, or a big old blob of glue that congealed, it got hard and just will not run through there. Clear that out, put everything back together the way it was. Screw it down, and you're going to use the same method that you would to take your tire off of your car or put your tire back on. You want to go crisscross and make your little pattern to get everything sealed down right. Okay, seal it back down and make sure your solenoid's back on right. The little bleeder valves closed the way it's supposed to be. Go over there, turn your water back on. That valve's going to modulate for a second, and it's going to die. There's not going to be any water coming out of your heads anymore because you've cleared that valve. You've solved your problem. You can go over there and work it from the controller, turn it off a couple times, turn it back on, turn it off again. I guarantee that's going to solve your problem. And I'm going to go out there and demonstrate how to do this, and we're going to tie that video together. I appreciate you tuning in. There's going to be lots more to come, and I appreciate you get any value out of this video at all. I'm happy for you to subscribe to the channel, like the video. You can make comments, tell me what you like, what you don't like, tell me how you do it differently. All those things are really important. I appreciate you. Appreciate your support. Okay, we'll see you next time.